What are the best neighborhoods in Edmonton? You're going to want to watch this video. We're going to talk all about the best neighborhoods in Edmonton for families. Hi, this is Melody Wilson with the Real Life team at Remax Elite. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the videos. So we're going to talk to you today about how do you define the best neighborhoods before we can talk about the best neighborhoods in Edmonton. I got 5 things for you that define best neighborhood. And I'm talking from a mom perspective and a realtor perspective on what a best neighborhood would be. Number 1, safe community, less crime. This is so important. A good neighborhood that I would consider a best neighborhood, and when I'm advising my clients what area to buy in, we're going to look in the areas that don't have a high crime rate. If you're ever curious, you can check out the City of Edmonton crime map and you'll see that. Now, don't be surprised, there's crime everywhere, but we're looking for somewhere where there's less crime, and that typically equates to a much safer area and neighborhood as well. Number 2, accessibility to amenities and schools. So in the neighborhood, are you close to the school? Is that your catchment area? Are there amenities? Is there a skating rink? Is there a playground? Is there a spray park? So many things to consider. Are you close to a grocery store? To me, that also defines if it's a good neighborhood or not, because if you're in a neighborhood that's super far away and there's nothing close by, it's not exactly family friendly when you ran out of milk or your kid is sick and you need to go get some medication, right? We want to have close access to amenities. Number 3, quiet and well-kept neighborhood. Well, as a mom, when I lived in a different neighborhood in Edmonton, I didn't really love hearing noise. I don't want to hear traffic noise. I don't want to hear loud parties. You obviously can't avoid that in all neighborhoods, but in general, you should be able to have a quiet area. We live in the suburbs. You're not going to hear as much road traffic as if you were in the city, but obviously in the city, you don't always hear the traffic. It depends on where your house is located. But to me, that also is part of the ranking for best neighborhood is a quiet and safe. Quiet, and then the first part, safe, right? Number 4 is an active community. What do I mean by that? Well, take a drive around neighborhoods and see if people are walking and in the evenings for a walk, an evening stroll. If you don't see as much people out on the streets, you kind of have to wonder why. Now, I'm not talking about in the dead of winter when it's so cold and nobody wants to be out. I'm talking when it's spring, summer, fall, if people aren't taking their dogs out for a walk or their kids bike riding, what's going on? An active community, again, usually is a safer and quieter community. The last thing I'm looking at when I'm looking at best neighborhoods is the actual amenities in the community. So the second part, I did kind of touch on that because we're talking about accessibility to like the main roads and grocery stores and whatnot, but the other one is amenities in the community. It's so important to make sure that you've got a green space to kick the ball around in, or to go to the playground, or to go to the spray park, go to the ice skating, like we talked about in the second one. But accessibility in and accessibility out of the neighborhood for amenities is so important. So all these items that I just talked about all contribute to actually the resale value and the value of these homes in the area. So certain areas are going to be more desirable than others for these things that I've just mentioned to you. So those are the things that we're going to look at when we tell you what I think are the most desirable neighborhoods in Edmonton. So the cost of these homes is going to be, in my opinion, as a mom, being affordable or almost not affordable. If they're not affordable, it's not usually family friendly unless that is your price bracket. If you're looking for budget friendly, then we're going to kind of rate these neighborhoods, and these neighborhood ratings is completely subjective. It is my opinion, and it's nothing to like hold a standard to, but I'm showing you how I'm coming up with these so that if you're looking to measure a neighborhood, if it's good for your family or not, you can kind of use those guidelines as a general rule of thumb. So the combination of the things that I just talked to you about, the desirability and the proximity to the river valley in Edmonton, is actually going to make the prices go higher. Anything in the suburbs is going to make the prices go lower. So I'm going to talk to you about now what I think are the most best neighborhoods in Edmonton for families. For affordability's sake, I'm going to tell you some of the most affordable, best neighborhoods in my opinion in Edmonton, and then I'll talk to you about the suburbs. So in Edmonton, if you want to live in the city and not on the outskirts in suburbia land, what I always like to do is tell you that there's 4 quadrants in Edmonton. The most affordable is Southeast Edmonton. But the best value for your buck is, I think, West Edmonton. Southwest is going to be your most expensive. North, northwest, northeast, they're on the okay scale, but in terms of the factors I told you about, I really do think the West is there. Now, completely subjective because I'm a West End girl as well, right? But there's a reason that I do live over here. So see, here are some of the West End neighborhoods that I think are good value for your money, and then all the things that I just talked to you about earlier in this video. So we've got Linwood, Elmwood, McQueen, Mayfield, Deschênes, and Garapi. In Southwest Edmonton, typically the prices are quite high if what you're getting, and then you're ending to like have to renovate if you want to stay in a budget. However, my top picks there would be, for affordability's sake, take a look at Greenfield, but it's very highly competitive to get into that market, and also Royal Gardens. Now, if we're looking at the suburbs, there's a whole bunch of different choices that you have: Northeast Edmonton, Southeast Edmonton, West and Southwest. Don't forget West, we're kind of limited because there's not a whole lot of land left there. So if you look at the new areas, remember one of the things I told you about was access to amenities. Well, some of these areas don't have access to amenities, so they're rated lower for me in terms of best neighborhoods. So no big surprise, I'm going to rate my neighborhood as one of the best neighborhoods in Edmonton. Rosenthal is going to be one. The Windmere area, I think, is another great area. There's so many options. The Glenridding area is very affordable in the Windmere area, and so it's giving you lots of options. You've also got the Keswick area, but Keswick is a little bit further away from amenities, and Glenridding is actually quite close to the amenities that have already been existing for the older part of Windmere. Bouncing back to the West End, Granville is actually another area that I think is a very good, desirable neighborhood. It's a little bit on the higher price point side, but it has so many accessibility, and the school, people love the school in that area. It's a brand new school, and also the amenities in what's called the Grange amenity area. So another very family area is very common to everyone is Summerside. You've got access to the beach, you've got access to all their amenities there, and people love being there for families. Just remember, it is a bit crowded now because there's a lot more people out there. And then right around there is the Orchards at Ellerslie. They also have an HOA that has some great amenities for homeowners specifically, and that's why I rate the neighborhood as kind of on the higher level of best neighborhoods. So that's, in summary, my list of best neighborhoods in Edmonton. I know that you may or may not agree with me on those areas, but I'm just using the criteria I told you about, and then knowing what I know from my real estate background and for resale and what things are selling for. Those are the best places to invest in. Of course, if you're buying a home in the rest of the city of Edmonton, it doesn't mean that you live in the worst neighborhood in Edmonton. It just means I've ranked these a little bit higher. There's different areas that are up and coming, and that you could get more value for your money because you don't need to live in the most desirable. I was trying to tell you kind of the middle. There's obviously very desirable neighborhoods in Edmonton, but those come with a price tag. So this is just a perspective from a little old mom with 3 kids and a realtor. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.